Okay, so for the next module or section, in fact, we'll attack 3D model importation. This subject can seem a bit basic, like importing a 3D model in RoboDK is supposed to be as simple as drag and dropping the file to the 3D environment. Yes, that's true, but there's a lot of other thing, let's say, behind the scene that will affect your work, either in terms of how responsive the station can be, in terms of what color you can expect to find in the 3D model you import, the general accuracy of that 3D model, depending on what you want to do with that 3D model at the end of the day. So, depending on certain factors, you won't necessarily deal with a 3D model the same way. So let's start with the basics. So 05 3D model, you have 058 3D model importation. And you have here a simple RoboDK logo. So before anything else, I'm just gonna go and default setting here. Anyway, we'll go back to that in a few seconds. I'll just create myself a frame here first. So to import a 3D model, as we already know, you can simply drag and drop it to RoboDK. RoboDK does accept step file, IGES, STL, and PLY, another few formats, but I would highly recommend you to stick with those ones. So if you can use a step, use a step. If you can't use a step but you have an IGES, use an IGES. And if you're really stuck, you can use a STL. So we have frame 1 here, which is at the root of the station, at the origin of the station. And I'm going to come here and we have rdk logo.step. So two ways to importing, either drag and drop, or you can go file and then open if you want. That's the same exact result. Some people will have some issues with the drag and drop, so open always works. Like that, drag and drop, and I'm going to drag and drop it here in this reference frame, and I'm going to reduce the reference frame using minus a few times. Okay, so just like that, our part was imported. As it was mentioned in the name of the part, it's our RoboDK logo. As you can see here, it's very simple, just a square plate with our logo. So a few things. First of all, this 3D model had some colors when it was exported from, I think in this case was SolidWorks. So when it was created and exported from SolidWorks as a step, it had color. So first of all, if you want to keep color, you need to make sure that you're using a step 214 and not 203. So 203 do not retain color as far as I know, and 214 does. So some CAD software will give you that option, some won't give you any option, so just use the default option if you have just one default option. Otherwise, 203 is your best bet. But as you can see here, there is no color whatsoever. We just have the logo and that's it. But if I double click the 3D model, we have the object panel as usual. Click plus here, more option. You can go to change color. If you click on change color, you will have all the color of that specific object. You can see we have like 88 kind of white color, 7 blue, 6 gray, and then 101 gray bluish color here. And if we add up 88 plus 7 plus 6, it does equal to 101 too. So what happens often is that the CAD software will kind of save, if I can say, a layer on top of the colors with the material. So if you had the material applied to your 3D model, it will show here as one color that we don't really need. So you can really get rid of that fairly quickly by right clicking and selecting delete mesh. But I would not recommend doing that like straight like that. What I would recommend is clicking on it once and then going for the alpha channel. Alpha channel is transparency, and then you add 0 here and you click OK. That will remove that color, and now you can see the colors of the logo. So the reason why I don't want to right click delete right away, it's because right click delete is a one-way train. There is no way back from that one. and sometimes some parts of the model you're trying to follow will be the same color as the, let's say, outside layer. So in this situation, you're kind of stuck a bit and you can't really delete all the colors. So yeah, so before right-clicking and delete, I always hide them, look if I lost any pieces, because here I could always go back and re-increase the alpha channel. That would work. So just like that, and then now that I know there is nothing else here, I can click and delete mesh, and now I'm only left with the information I'm really interested in, which are the color of the plate and the colors of the logo. That was the first thing. Second thing, I'm pretty sure you can recognize that our logo, like small here, our logo is a perfect circle. And this is not a perfect circle by any stretch of the imagination. This is normal because of some importation parameters we have within RoboDK. So if you go to Tools, and then Options, and then CAD, you will find here 3D file importation settings. Personally, never play with the first one. Actually, when importing a step, load as one object. This is always what I do. You can load as an assembly, but the results are oftentimes a bit surprising, if I can say. Then you have linear accuracy for the surface, angular accuracy for the surface, and curve accuracy. So those three here are there to define like what a curve will look like. Will it be like a curve, or will it be a bunch of facets, bigger or smaller depending on your settings here, to recreate a curve? The same way as your screen can show you a circle, even if it only uses square pixel, but if you put them close enough together for the human eyes, it's impossible to differentiate. So those are the parameters per default. I will always recommend you to remove import all curve and points if you don't need it, and there's no reason for you to need it from the point we are right now, at the point we're right now. So this was the result with 1, 1, 2. My personal choices for default settings are 1, 1, 1. So this is how I would generally import stuff. If I was to do that here, create a new frame, let's say, and import the logo once again, and show the color, change color, delete mesh, you won't see a big improvement, but it's still a bit better than it was. So this one's a bit coarse and this one is a bit better, but you won't see a big difference. So I use those settings for objects that I don't really care about, to be honest. So if I had a frame for the robot, just to put the robot on, if I had a machine that I'm not really interacting with, the goal is just to have it there for collision checking potentially or stuff like that. So I don't really need to have it very accurate, very clean. So I would use the default settings. If you have something very, very big, tools options, sorry. So you have something very, very big to import, like a huge file, you can click here on fast import settings. Fast import setting will bring 555 here and remove the automatically match curve and point normal with normal surface normal, sorry. So if you have that, it will create something even more, like you can see here, change color, and oops, here, this one here, change color, delete mesh, and it looks like that. So the round of the logo, the circle of the logo on our square, and it looks kind of awful. But if it's something that you just need to look from afar and you don't care, that could work. I would recommend that only if your computer is really struggling with the 3D model that you're importing. But even there's other methodology to make it better. So what I generally use, if I want to make a part nice looking, I will go for something like default settings, and here I'll go for 0.5 or 0.1. If I go for 0.1 here, 0.1, 0.1, click OK. And now if I bring in the same file again, more option, change color, delete mesh, you will see that now we have a real perfect circle. Okay, so that's very important. I have a small example here, CAD importation parameters. You will see later in the training, we will extract curves from 3D model that we imported, and those curves will be like linked. In fact, the quality or the precision of those curves will be linked directly to the CAD import settings that you used. So those were all a simple cylinder when I extracted them from, I don't need to see that honestly. When I extracted them from SolidWorks, same exact circle or cylinder, I should say. And here this is with the fast import settings. You can really see the facet here, or faces, if I can say. Here normal setting, not so bad, but still. And then with 0.1, like a lot, you can see all the points that were generated here to create the circle. So yeah, so that's the first thing. Okay, now let's go back to this model here. So I'm going to delete the one we don't care about. I'm going to reset that one to the okay. Now let's say that in robotics in general, we prefer having the z-axis pointing towards the sky and then x and y on the plane, like on the floor. But some CAD software don't go that way, if I can say. So SolidWorks, for example, have the y pointing towards the sky. So sometimes you might end up with an object, when you import it, it looks like that, like instead of being flat on the ground. So what you can do is, I'm going to close this one because I need to reopen it. Double click the object either here, or press or right click option. And you could move the object from here, object position with respect to frame 2. But I don't like that method. I just like that method when it comes to repositioning the object in my station. But when it comes to realigning the object with respect to its reference frame, as I already showed you before, with the tool, I'm going to press plus here. And starting from here, I'm going to use my scroll wheel and find the right rotation for this one. So something like that would make sense. I will click apply move, and then 100 millimeters in this direction, apply move. And now the object is at the right spot, which like the origin makes sense. So it's in the corner here. The z-axis is pointing towards the sky, and I'm flat with the ground. So that makes sense. Okay, so next thing, so in the next video we will look at how to import and deal with heavier object, because those will happen and they can be quite of a problem if you don't know how to deal with them. You will receive objects that are like a few dozen, a few hundred megs, and if you just drag and drop those to RoboDK, you're gonna have a hard time, that's for sure. So let's see you in the next video.